But what I am saying is, like, I don't understand this this tactic. Why would we want to give money to our enemies when we could easily give that money to our allies? And then we wouldn't have to go in and fight any wars. Our allies would fight against the people that, you know what I mean, that we don't like them in the first place. So our allies are going to handle that type of situation because that's where they are. They know that that person poses a threat to them. Just like, let me ask you this, okay? There's a lot of leftists right now that are really chopping down on Israel and stating that they really don't have a right to be knocking down buildings. They had knocked down a building recently of the Associated Press. And there was a lot of leftist cries on this, stating that, you know, the Associated Press is like, oh, you know, this is a chop on democracy. This is a chop on freedom of speech and the press, things of that. No, okay. Israel came out with their own statement, and they did not mince words. Okay, Hamas had terrorist organization offices in that building, and that's where he was staging attacks. Now, Israel has a really cute little way of doing this. Okay, they have two different methods to make sure that there are no civilians and, you know, no casualties, basically, in knocking down these buildings. They have one that's called a knock bomb. Okay, this bomb, basically, from what I'm assuming, I don't really know the schematics of it, but I guess from what I'm assuming, it explodes just above the building. Okay, so in other words, it never actually hits the building, but it hits the building with such a shockwave that it shakes the building. Okay, and that's the only signal. That's it. Get out. Either that, or they actually look up the phone numbers of people that are actually living or working in that building, and they'll call them and be like, look, you need to tell as many people as you can to get out of this building right now, because we're going to knock it to the ground. I think that's a really nice way of doing it. Now, they also knocked down this building and no injuries, no casualties, no death, nothing. Buildings on the ground, though. To me, I commend Israel. I think that they're fighting back, and they're doing a great job. They just knocked down 163 football fields long of terrorist tunnels. Now these people can't even move their weapons anymore. They took out a couple of really high-ranking leaders. I mean, at this point, Israel's seriously showing their ass. And I'm more than happy. Let me ask you this. You know, leftists say that Israel doesn't have the right to do these things, right? Okay, what do you think the United States would do if Mexico City started lobbing rockets at Texas? What do you think we would do? We would level Mexico. That's exactly what we would do. We would level all of Mexico. We would just make sure that this never happens ever again, because we had said after Japan attacked the United States, the beginning of World War II, that we would never allow another foreign power to invade U.S. territory. Okay? Like, Mexico would be carpet bombed and leveled to the ground. Okay? So, why is it that Israel is not allowed to defend their state? Once again, I'll wait. Please tell me why. I want to know. I really do. I want to know from everybody in the comments. If you disagree with me and you don't believe that Israel has the right to be doing what they're doing, please leave me a good comment, because I'm going to tear into you something fierce. Okay? Whether it's a Jewish state or not, doesn't matter to me. It's a country. It is an area of the world that wants peace. But instead, because of who they are and what they stand for, it's okay for these terror groups to just try to destroy them? For what? For what gain? That in itself just sounds stupid. I mean, on its face right off the rip. Now, I do want to get to our final topic of the day. And I actually wasn't even going to do this podcast today, but I decided to because I'm starting to get a little bit more journalism-y. And, I don't want to be a journalist. I'm not a news reporter. I would love to be a political commentator, but I don't really foresee that actually happening to me either. So I do this as a hobby. I do this as fun. Okay? I'm a boring guy. I've said this many times before. I watch politics. That's what I do. I study the world and the policies of the world. I want to know how it works, why it works, and when, where. You know what I mean? I want to know all of that. And that's why I do this. Okay? Because when I find out a whole bunch of stuff, I want you to know too. Something to keep you thinking. You know what I mean? You know, you don't always have to be on the leftist teat, as I call it. Where all you're doing is, oh, well, I think he just said hate speech. Or I think he might be racist. Or I think he might be a bigot. Or maybe a homophobe. I've been called all of these things. Okay? I've been called a xenophobe. I've been called all types of crazy names. I mean, all lies, but okay. If that's what you want to think of me, does not matter to me. Because once again, I'll reiterate, facts don't care about your feelings. That's the way this works. Now, I did say that I was going to get a little bit into religion. I need to light a cigarette for this because, yeah. Okay. If you watch the mainstream media, a while back on the campaign trail, Joe Biden was refused communion by a Catholic priest because he supports abortion. Now, put politics aside. I'm a devout Catholic. I'm not going to say like devout to the point where I'm like praying with my rosary every single night. No. But I believe in God, and I believe Jesus Christ is my Savior, and I believe in the Catholic religion and the saints and the prophets, and you know what I mean? I was raised that way. Okay? I was baptized, confirmed, communion, the whole nine. I had it all done. Okay? Hell, I was an altar boy when I was 11 years old. Okay? So we all know Biden was denied communion because of his views on abortion. Now, the bishops in this country, in the Catholic religion, are seriously in uproar on the idea that he continuously starts to, spew basically bullshit out of his mouth and say that he's a devout Catholic, but he still supports abortion. He supports same-sex marriage. You know what I mean? These are, matter of fact, even the same-sex marriage, the Catholic Church is kind of bended on a little bit. They say that they're not going to bless the marriage, but they'll accept it. Okay? So, I mean, that's a bend for the Catholic Church. I mean, that kind of stuff, in my day, when I was young, that wouldn't even be heard of. No. But they're willing to bend on that. And Pelosi, because in response to the bishops, stating that they're not going to allow Joe Biden to receive communion when he goes to church, okay, because of his views on abortion. I don't see this being a problem, okay, and the reason why, okay, here's the reason why, okay, it's not a knock on Joe Biden. If anything, the bishops believe that by receiving communion and literally disobeying one of God and Jesus' laws, his regulations that he laid down for humanity, okay, you do not kill babies. So by receiving communion and knowing that you're committing one of the utmost sins, you're actually damning your own soul. Okay, and that's what Catholics believe. Okay, so if anything, the bishops are actually trying to save Joe Biden's soul at this point. See, now I know a lot of you right now are going to sit there and be like, wow. Either some of you are like, wow, I never thought of that. And then some of you are like, nah. Hey, you know what? Pick up a Bible. Let me know how it works out. There's this thing that Moses brought down from the burning bush up there on the mount. It was called the Ten Commandments. And in the Ten Commandments, there is one commandment that states, thou shalt not murder. That's a pretty obvious point, right? Thou shalt not murder. Okay. Well, killing a baby in the womb is murder. That's the way it works. And if you're for that, as far as I'm concerned, you should be excommunicated. You should not be allowed to receive communion, period. That is the body of Christ. All who receive communion are pure, or they're purified after they receive communion. But if you're committing one of the most adulterated sins, I mean, on the planet, and you're completely for it, okay, no, you can't be pure. So therefore, the communion, it never took place. So why would they waste the wafer, basically? That being said, you know, look, just be good to each other and think. That's what I tell you guys every time at the end of one of these videos. Just be good to each other and think about what you're doing. Think about the consequences of your actions. Think about the consequences of your speech. Sometimes, and I'll give you an example, okay? If my girlfriend looks at me, she gets dressed, we're going out for the night, and she looks at me, and you've heard this before, you know, she'll, do I look fat in this dress? I'm going to say no, even if I think that she looks fat in that dress, okay? For the simple fact that there are times when you can actually kind of, you know, scapegoat around the truth, because, you know, and I hate to say this is like the, I just got like phlegm in my throat just thinking about it. But you do have to think about other people's feelings from time to time. Mind you, I'll repeat that, from time to time. Okay? You know, just move through life as though, guess what? Tomorrow is definitely not promised. And yesterday's gone. Okay, so move through life as that you want a future and not just the past. Because a lot of people in this world right now, that's all they're focused on, is their past, not their future. They're not thinking about, well, where do I want to be in 5 to 10 years, and what type of actions am I going to do and take to get me there? They're not focused on that now. All they want to dwell on is, oh, well, what he said to me or she said to me, and how they defaced me, or how they hurt my feelings, or how they, you know what I mean, they said this, and I don't agree with that. Okay, well, you know what? You don't have to agree with anything. You can literally change the channel, change the station, not listen. Don't read that book. If you don't like that person at the store, don't talk to them. These are very simple social concepts. I don't understand why more people can't do it. That being said, guys, I'll leave it at that. Once again, my name's Sean Ferrer. I'm the Culturally Woke Republican. And I wish you all Godspeed and God's love. Talk to you later.